Alright, I just want to give you some quick hits on some news from around the world of baseball as well as this weekend's UFC fights. Just a couple quick things. One, Phillies acquiring Jason Vargas. I don't hate the deal, but it really feels like last year. You look at when the Phillies acquired Aaron Loop and Wilson Ramos for a baseball team that, for all intents and purposes, was not in the playoff hunt. They were mathematically in it, but they were not in terms of talent-wise in it. This year's team has added Bryce Harper. They've added JT Realmuto. They've added all these different guys from last year's team that make this team better. And with the injuries, there's still a very good offense. So adding Jason Vargas a few weeks ago, adding Drew Smiley, it doesn't feel like a team that's really making a push for the playoffs. And I want to hear about Jay Bruce. For as hot as he has been for this baseball team, his addition was more about covering the losses of Andrew McCutchen and Odubel Herrera than anything else. That's really what that deal was about. That deal was less about, oh, we're a contending team, we're trying to bolster our team. No, that was about covering specific needs. Jason Vargas and Drew Smiley, you could argue cover specific needs, but at the end of the day, they're both pitchers who low risk, high reward kind of deal. If they work out, it's great. If they don't work out, you didn't spend a lot for them. You traded a catcher batting 195, which is a horrible batting average for a guy in his second year at AA. You traded that catcher to the Mets for Vargas. You signed Drew Smiley when people didn't even want him. It's not like you spent big assets or money to get these guys. It's not like when Keuchel or Kimbrel, two big-time free agents, were available and you decide to pass on both. I feel like the front office has really been misleading to this fan base because you go out there and talk about spending big money. You talk about how you want to win now. And what do? You bring in Jay Bruce, Jason Vargas, and Drew Smiley. Three guys who are in the latter stages of their career and no longer even in their prime. Jay Bruce, great addition. We'll see what Vargas is, even though he was an all-star a couple years ago. And Drew Smiley, we've only seen him pitch one start, so I can't really make an assessment of who he is. Unless this franchise goes out and makes a major move before the July 31st trade deadline, I just don't have a lot of faith that this franchise, specifically the front office, is serious about reaching the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Since 2011. That's what frustrates the Philly fan. The Philly fan, like myself, my favorite Phillies hat right here. The Philly fan doesn't care about, we're just trying to get close. We're progressing. You're making the next step up. No. This was the year you're supposed to make the playoffs. This was the year you make that second step. And now, Philly fan looks at the front office and says, look, man, we don't believe in this. How am I supposed to believe that you're serious about making a playoff push when the Mets acquired Marcus Stroman and you got Jason Vargas from them? Now, I get it. The Mets gave up two of their best prospects, two of their top 10 ranked prospects to get Marcus Stroman. I'm not saying you had to go out and get Stroman. There are other pitchers on the market. I just look at Vargas and I see the Phillies cutting corners. I see a franchise that is not willing to take the deep dive. There's no guarantee that Alec Baum is going to be a great prospect or any of the guys in Double and Triple A. You look at the history of the Phillies. Dominic Brown, all these other guys, they just didn't work out. Billy McMillan. I mean, come on. There's a long history. There's a reason why the Phillies won the World Series in 2008. When they had Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, all three of those guys were among the five best at their position in all of baseball. Two of those three guys won an NL MVP award, and the third, Chase Utley, should have at one point if it wasn't for an injury. Cole Hamels, phenomenal playoff pitcher. You had this elite talent. Realistically, is Rhys Hoskins one of the five best first basemen in the National League? No. He's really good, but he's not that good. Bryce Harper, he still qualifies as a top 6 outfielder in Major League Baseball, but he's barely staying in that conversation considering how he's performed this year. Aaron Nola was a Cy Young candidate last year. This year, he's taken a bit of a step down. He's still great. He's still one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball, at least the National League. But he's nowhere as great as he was last year. This team is so below, talent-wise, what the 2008 team was. Yeah, JT Realmuto is one of the best catchers in the National League. But realistically, when your catcher, your outfielder, and your starting pitcher are all among the best in the league, but yet they're all having, for them, down seasons, you kind of have to wonder how serious the Phillies are about winning. And look, if you're not going to make the big move now, are you just kicking the can down the road for next year? Phillies fan, we're a little frustrated. All right, let's get to the UFC. First of all, can we get it through everybody's thick skull? I get it. Max Holloway is great, but he's not the greatest featherweight of all time. Love him or hate him, the greatest featherweight in MMA history is still Jose Aldo. Aldo defended his belt 9 times. He won it on 2 different occasions. He was one of the most dominant forces in MMA history. His long reign as a champion goes up over there with guys like John Jones and Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. That's what we're talking about with Jose Aldo. Max Holloway may be on his way to being one of the greats, but he's not there yet. I don't want to crown him before he ascends higher. Until he does what guys like I mentioned, Silva, Jones, George St. Pierre, Demetrius Johnson, and others did, I'm not going to put him in the greatest of all time at a weight class. Furthermore, we forget about what Uriah Faber did way years ago when he had 5 title defenses in the WEC at featherweight. A weight class that some people believe may have not even been his natural weight class. That's debatable. We'll never know because we never saw prime Uriah Faber in the UFC. Jose Aldo, Uriah Faber, until recently, were the de facto best featherweights in MMA history. Max Holloway is working himself into that conversation. Huge winner for Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar, one of the greatest lightweight champions of all time. He didn't stop him in terms of knockout, but he stopped him in terms of momentum. Every time Frankie tried to get momentum, he slowed him down. Max beat Jose Aldo not once but twice. So I can't deny the man's talent. I can't deny him. I love the guy. I think he's one of my favorite fighters watching right now. The way he moves, the way he sticks, the way he uses the jab, his unorthodox striking. It does have some similarities to John Jones. He's not as great of an athlete as John Jones is, but his unique style does remind me of Jones and what Jones has done at 205. I need to see Max do more. He needs to do more at this high a level in order to keep progressing and getting better and better and better. Cris Cyborg, it was a very unceremonious win over Felicia Spencer. I get all the memes and the jokes online right now. It's all cute and everything, but let's be realistic. She doesn't look like the Cyborg, the dominant Christine Santos we saw for years and years. And I get that she may have some beef with Dana White. I get she may have some issues with what the UFC is about and how they run their business. But for her to come out and say that Dana White needs to apologize to her and that Dana White's not a good person, look, let me tell you something. There are all kinds of situations where Dana has helped out people who are in the fight game and outside the fight game. He's given the charity. He's spent time helping fighters. He's gone out of his way for people. Don't tell me that Dana White's not a good person because he doesn't line up and kiss the feet that you have or put red carpets out in front of you wherever you walk. Cyborg may think she's one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, but she's not. Because at the end of the day, she never fought in multiple weight classes like Amanda Nunes. She never totally took out elite competition at every end. What was she doing? She spent half of her career beating up on women who were smaller than her, who had to move up to 145 because she was unable to cut down the 135. Whatever your reason why she couldn't cut down, that's on you. I'm not going to get into the conversation about potential PEDs and steroids and everything with her, because at this point, it doesn't matter. What matters is she's trying to make this not about what the real issue is. And the real issue is she got her world rocked by a fighter from a lighter weight class the first time that it happened. And instead of her coming out and saying, I want to get a rematch, I'm going to do whatever it takes. She acts like she deserves special treatment. Why? Why do you deserve special treatment? What makes you better than anybody else? If you really wanted to show that you're one of the best in the world, you would have dominated this no-namer at 145. Instead, Felicia Spencer came out and had a phenomenal performance. She made Christine Santos work hand over fist to get every point in that fight. The only reason why Cyborg won the fight in unanimous decision was because at the end of the day, Spencer's an inexperienced fighter compared to Cyborg. That's all. Cyborg acts like she's this one of the greatest of all time fighters. When she fought in a weight class where realistically there's not a lot of women who can go blow for blow size-wise with her. When she did fight women who were her size, whether it was a girl like Megan Anderson or others, those women were less experienced than Cyborg was, or they didn't have the high-level strength and punching power that Santos brings to the cage in the octagon. Realistically, maybe what Cyborg needs to do is, instead of complaining about the UFC, go out and prove that she's still an elite fighter. Go out and fight somebody who people don't expect you to fight. Go sign with the PFL. Go into their championship next year. You want to prove yourself? Why don't you go through that league? Get in from the regular season. That's what's great about the PFL. You earn your championship. Maybe Cyborg doesn't know what it means to earn a championship at this point because she was so great and dominant for so long. She's had very few obstacles in her way, and she acts like she should be treated like what? What, Dana White doesn't love and bow down to her? So what? He's a businessman. That's not his job to be loving and doubting over you. It's his job to make money and put out the best product he can. It's not to do everything for you. I think what Cyborg needs to do, if she's serious about her place in the MMA world, she needs to swallow her pride, sign with the PFL next year, go through their regular season, earn a playoff spot, and go head-to-head with Kayla Harrison. Go head-to-head with the women over there. Are they as elite fighting depth as the UFC? No, the UFC has the deepest roster in all of MMA. But what the PFL does have is Kayla Harrison. And Kayla Harrison is as big and as strong, and I would argue more athletic than Cyborg ever was. And Cyborg is past her prime herself. She's getting older. Kayla Harrison is coming into her own. And I think Kayla, with her judo background, and think about who she trains with. Amanda Nunes, the woman who knocked out Cyborg, that's the fight I want. I don't want to see Cyborg versus Nunes again. I want to see Santos go out and prove that she's still one of the best by going to the PFL, earning a playoff spot, and fighting Kayla Harrison. That's what I want to see. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you have a great rest of the day. It's a Monday. Try to enjoy some fresh air before I head back into the radio station. Hope you have a great week. I'll catch you next time.